Hello friends, welcome back to the session on your Virtualization 101. So in this particular session we are going to discuss about something called as two different type of switches. Okay, the switches which are using which we people can migrate a particular virtual machine from one particular location to another location. Like you people might have already seen like how we can transmit a virtual machine from one particular server to another server, right? Let us suppose this is your one server, server number 1, and there is another server, server number 2. And in this particular server, let us suppose there is virtual machine 1, and in this you are having another virtual machine 2. Now in the previous sessions we have seen that how this particular virtual machine 1 can be shifted or can be migrated from this particular server to this particular server. So how it is possible? So how this particular provision is provided in cloud using virtualization? So that's what we are going to discuss here. Now in this particular part, so there are two things which you people have to keep in mind. So in order to migrate a virtual machine from one particular location to another, internally there we have something called as switches. Internally we have something called as switches, and using these particular switches only we are able to migrate from one particular source to another source. Okay, so in order to do that, what kind of switches we have? So basically here you can see there are two different type of switches we are coming across. The first one is what we call it as a standard switch. Okay, so two type of switches, this is your first one and this is your second one. So if we talk about the first one here, so here we call this as a standard switch, and using this particular switch only we will be performing or migrating. So what is the main purpose of this particular standard switch is, now this particular switch can be present in every server. So whatever the host we are using, like as I told you, this is your server number 1 and here we have server number 2. Now within this particular servers, this particular switch will be present. We call it as standard switch, and the short form is VSS, virtual standard switch. And using this particular switch only we can migrate from one particular server to another server, the virtual machines. The second type of switch what we have, that we call it as something called as distributed switch. Now this is something different, remember guys. Now this particular distributed switch what we are coming across, this cannot be implemented, this will not be present in this particular server. Rather this particular switch will be present in your vCenter server. You can see here this will be present in your vCenter server. So what is this vCenter server here? Nothing but your data center. So using a data center we are exactly implementing it, right? So that is the thing that comes under into this particular thing. So vNetwork distributed switch, remember guys, it is actually centralized to vCenter server. vCenter server in the sense nothing but the data center whatever we are using. But if you talk about the first one, what about standard switch? This is not present in your central server, rather this is present in each and every server that is present. So data center whichever you are using, within that distributed switch will be present. But whereas coming to this particular servers which are present in this particular data center, that will have something called a standard switch. So in simple way what I can say is, in order to provide communication between one particular server and another server, server 1 and server 2, standard switch can be used in order to do. But from one particular data center, within one particular, so this is what we call it as data center. So within the data center, if any other, so clusters, you know, there are multiple cluster, assume that this is one particular cluster. Okay, let me take a new slide and then explain it. Okay, you people are already familiar, right? This is your data center, right? This particular thing is what I'm calling it as data center, this rectangle area. Now within this, let us suppose there are clusters. So the green color representations what I'm doing here is cluster. You can assume in this way, no issues. So assume that this is your cluster number 1, this is your cluster number 2, and this is your cluster number 3. Okay, and within this particular clusters you people are having the virtual machines. So you have virtual machine 1, virtual machine 2, virtual machine 3. Same way, let us suppose here also you have some two virtual machines here within this cluster, virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 2. And here also you are having virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 2. Now if there is a need for communication between within the cluster from one particular virtual machine to another virtual machine, that we can do it using something called as standard switch. So using standard switch, we people can perform that. But if you want to provide communication between the virtual machines that are present in one cluster with another cluster, then you people have to use something called as distributed switch. Distributed switch. Okay. So this is the difference what we have exactly. So whenever you want to provide communication between the virtual machines within a cluster, you can use standard switch. But whenever you want to provide communication between different clusters, the virtual machines which are present, then you people can use distributed switch. So this particular distributed switch will be present here in the data center, but whereas coming to the standard switch, that will be present here. Okay, I will use a yellow color here. So the standard switch will be present in the virtual machines whatever we're using. So whatever the server we are using, within the server we people are creating it, so these are the ones. So within this you will be having it. Okay, so much more explanation what I can give is this as a server. So these are the servers. Within this you are having virtual machine 1, another server virtual machine 2, there is another server virtual machine 3, and within this we people are exactly performing it, and then the communication exactly takes place. Okay, yeah. Now, so that's what exactly we have here, guys. Please make a simple notification here that the first thing is the standard switch will be present within a server or the host whatever we are using it, but whereas coming to the distributed switch, that will reside in your vCenter server, and that's what we basically call it as a data center. So these are the two things which you people have to keep in mind when we are implementing it. Now moving further here with respect to this, let's see the architecture of it. Sorry, I didn't replace it. Yes, you people can see the architecture of this. Well, this is the architecture of your vSphere standard switch what we use it. And if you see here in this case, let me take it up onto the top. So you can see here in the bottom you people are having the physical switch. The name what it specifies here is physical switches. These are nothing but the switches which are present in your laptops. Let us suppose in your laptop you are having RJ45 connector, right? You have a port, RJ45 port, and that port is what we call it here as physical switch. And if you remember, or if you people have an idea related to this particular hardware, you will understand that this particular RJ45 port which is connected or which is present in your laptop, that is actually connected to a card. That card is what we call it as NIC card. NIC card. NIC is nothing but network interface card. Network interface card. So within this card we will be performing this. Okay, so network interface card is the one using which that will be connected to this particular ports, and using this network interface card only we can connect to the internet. Now you can see I am representing, or the architecture represents here VM NIC. What do you mean by VM here is nothing but this is virtual machine, and NIC I think just now I told you network interface card. So virtual machine network interface card. So how many ports are present to a system, that many network interface cards will be present. So you can see here there are 3 ports, so 3 network interface cards. Here also we have 3 ports and 3 network interface cards. So total these are the things that are present. Now these network interface cards will be communicated or will be connected with something called as uplink port. You can see in the diagram there are 2 different hosts. So host is nothing but your server. The server is what we are calling it as host. So 2 different hosts are actually been represented here. In the first host you can see there will be uplink port group. In the second port also you have, in the second server also you are having uplink port group. Now using this uplink port group only we can communicate with the virtual machines that are present in this particular server. So ESXi is a server, virtualization server. Now this uplink port you can see that is connected to this particular network interface card. this one is connected to this, and this one is connected to this. The same thing is what represented here. Now on top of that, whatever the actions you people are doing, whatever the operations you people are performing, that is what represented here in this particular case. Like if you want to do management of the different virtual machines that are present in the server, you can do it using management port. These are all virtual, remember. Now as I told you that we people are performing migration from one particular server to another, that is possible with the help of this particular thing called as vMotion. And that vMotion will have vNIC card, vMotion traffic. Okay, so that is vMotion NIC card that has been presented. Now you can see there are so many virtual machines are present, so every virtual machine will have its own NIC card. VNIC card, we call it as V. Every virtual machine which we are connecting, every machine will have its own NIC card, but this is a virtual one. But ultimately you can see there are how many virtual machines we have in each server? 4. And here also you're having 4. But these 4 NIC cards are virtual and they are connected only with the 3 physical NIC cards what we have. And with the help of these 3 physical NIC cards only, we can communicate or we can migrate it from one particular. So if you want to migrate this particular virtual machine, okay, let me write it up like this. This is 1 2 3 4. Let us suppose I want to migrate virtual machine 3 into this particular server. So I can do it only with the help of this. So here this particular virtual machine will be migrated from here, so it can use any one of the port link, and from here it may be using any one of the port, and from here it may be transferred to this particular location, okay, based upon how the connections are implemented. So that way it will be performing it. That's what the thing we are talking about. This is what we call it as standard switch. So whenever the host and host, or the server and the server, this host and this host, this is what we call it as basically server. So whenever the servers want to communicate, they can communicate using standard switch. But when clusters wanted to communicate, then we will be using distributed switch here. And let me show you the architecture of the distributed switch. Here is the architecture of your distributed switch. And in this you people can very clearly see the common two are common. So common two layers, the bottom two layers are common here, physical switch and physical NICs. But the only difference here on top is the servers. You can see this is your server number 1. That is what we call host number 1. And here we have server number 2. And in this, like the previous slide what I have shown you, in the same way it is not represented here. Here you can see that there are proxies. So uplink port will be common in the servers. Using this only they can be connected to this NIC cards. The physical VM NIC cards can be connected using this particular uplink ports. Okay, and these uplink ports are nothing but the virtual one what are represented. And you can see it doesn't have much layers the way it was represented in standard switch. And on top of these particular servers, you are having something called as distributed switch. So this is what we call vSphere distributed switch. And within this again you will have a uplink ports here. And these uplink ports are used to get connected to this particular post, and this will be connected to the physical NIC cards, and from here the transmission actually takes place. Okay, so this is the example, this is the diagram, or this is the architecture. Remember guys, these have been referred from your virtualization textbook. Okay, so virtualization 101 lab manual, which is provided by VMware. From there we have taken this particular slides, so people can just see it if you have it and perform it. So these are the things what we have with respect to your virtualization. Now let's see how we can implement these switches. That is nothing but your vSphere distributed switch and vSphere standard switch, how we can implement using virtualization. Now for that you people have to go to your HOL lab. So how to go there? Very simple. So you can see we are in the HOL lab. In this you people have to click on virtualization. You have to, in the search bar you have to type virtualization 101, search for it. So you can see it is already represented. Click on enroll. So without wasting time, you can directly log in into it. You can provide your own username and password in order to learn this. It's very simple. And then you can click on start this lab. and simply start lab. No need to check for the compatibility test, but if you're interested you can just apply it. Here is the lab manual. Here it has been presented. Just close it and wait for the system to be ready, the virtualization 101, so that we can utilize it. Well, depending upon your network speed, it may take some time in order to upload it. So it requires a very high speed internet connection in order to access this particular lab. So please make sure that your network is strong enough. Okay, so as you people are aware that we can utilize this particular virtualization lab only when the lab status is turned into green. You people can see here the lab status here is representing in red. So it is trying to connect to the vCenter servers. So let's wait for it to get connected. Once it is connected, then you can go ahead and you can perform your operations. Okay, and onto the top you can see there is time remaining here. So total time 1 hour 30 minutes is provided. If you want to extend, you can click on this button and it will directly get extended here. So right now you can see the time has been extended to 2 hours 29 minutes. So let's see whether we can create it or not, we can connect it or not. In the meantime it is checking and it is performing it. So let's first click on this Google Chrome within this particular lab and try to enter into it and see the performance of it. Since yeah, it is connected. Yes, you don't have to provide username and password because by default it is present here. Simply you have to click on this checkbox and click on login here. So it's taking time here because the speed of the net is slow, due to which it is taking this much time. Yeah, it is open. Yes. So this is the home page for your vSphere client. You can see here vSphere client, and within this we are having the region, and this is your cluster, and within the cluster you are having different servers. So within this region A01 you are having two different hosts or the servers, that is ESX01A and ESX02A. Now the very first one what I'm going to explain here is the standard switch, how to create a standard switch. Okay, now as we already discussed using that particular slide, that the standard switch will be present within the server. So here we have two servers, ESX01A and ESX02A. So you can select any one of them. So let's suppose I'm selecting ESX02A. I'm clicking on that, and now I wanted to create a standard switch in this particular server. How to do that? Very simple. You can click on the action button here, and there you can select the option called as add networking. Just click on that, and here you will be getting some pop-up window where it has some 5 steps. If you will perform the 5 steps successfully, you will be able to create the standard switch. So just see here, the first step consists of some credentials like VMware kernel network adapter, virtual machine port group for a standard switch, and physical network adapter. So physical network adapter in the sense nothing but your NIC cards. Virtual machine NIC cards comes under physical network adapter. But right now I just wanted to create a port group here for the standard switch, and that is present here, the second option, virtual machine port group for a standard switch. Please click on it, just select it and go to the next step. And when you people go on to the next step, it is asking you to select the target device. So how much transmission of particular packets can take place using this particular standard switch? So switch is used for communication purpose, right? So how much data packets we can transmit? So here there are two options. Either you can select from the existing one, or you people can select the new switch. So since I'm creating a new switch here, I'm going with the second option. And here you can see MTU. MTU is nothing but maximum transmission unit. The full form is maximum transmission unit. So how many bytes I can transmit? Okay, per unit is 1500. Now you people can try to increase it. By default is 1500. You can increase it, you can decrease it. But since I'm just creating the switch, I'm not interested in the package right now. Just I wanted to create the switch. I'm leaving by default as it is 1500, and you can click on next button. Yes. Now you will be successfully moving into the third step. Now in this particular step, you need to attach that NIC card, whatever the physical VM NIC card is there, that has to be connected to the port. So here I'm going to select the NIC card. So let's see how many we have. I think you people can see there is a green button here. It is active state. You can just click on it and it will show you what is the network adapter we have. So you can see here we have VM NIC3 virtual machine network interface card 3. Please select this. So only one NIC card is there that we are selecting, and we are simply clicking on OK. And you can see that that particular adapter has been successfully connected to this particular switch, the one which we are creating it. Now you can click on the next button. In the meantime, if you have time, you people can explore this particular credentials. It's up to you. Okay, then you can click on next, and here we need to give the name for that particular network. So we are creating a switch, so definitely we need to give some label to it. So I'm giving VM network 2. So by default I'm leaving it. If you want, you can write your own names here depending upon your requirement. Then VLAN ID. So right now I'm not providing any LAN IDs here. Default is none. And if you want, you can even give it. So in between 4095 IDs are there. Any one of them will be appointed. So I don't want right now any ID for this. Simply I'm leaving as it is. Click on next button. And once you people click on the next button, you can see this is an overview presented. So I'm going to create a V standard switch, and the name of that switch is V switch 1, and the network port group what I'm using is VM network 2, and the NIC card which I'm connecting to this particular switch is VM NIC 3, and the maximum transmission unit will be 1500 bytes. Followed with that we have the ID. I did not present any ID. Finally you can click on finish, and successfully you people have created that particular switch. But the question here is, how can we see whether that particular switch is created or not? So in order to do that, very simple, you have to click on configure. Okay, when you click on configure, some settings will be open here. In this you can see there are main options are there, something like storage, networking, virtual machine, system. So since we are actually dealing with networking concept here, so you can expand networking. And you click on networking here, you can see there is an option called as virtual switches. In this it will be presented. You can click on this and you can see already the predefined. So whatever the switches that have been already predefined that have been present here, and among this you have to select your one. So in order to do that, you people can come on to the bottom here. And here you can see, as I told you, by default a standard switch 0 will be existing for each and every server using which they will be communicating. And just now I have created a new one, standard switch V switch 1. So onto the left hand side you can see arrow button, just click on it, drop down it, and here you can see VM network 2. The ID I did not provide any ID, and no virtual machine is right now connected to it. And what is the adapter which I have connected here? You people can clearly see VM NIC3. This is the adapter what I have connected. So this is the way how you people can create. So you people have successfully created a V standard switch. Virtual standard switch is created. Okay, these are the steps which we use it in order to create it. Now let us suppose if you want to modify the existing one, well, that is also possible. Yes, it is possible to modify the existing switch as well. For that, let us suppose I am taking the first server. In the first server, I am coming to this particular configure and virtual switch, same as it is. Come to the bottom here. You can see there is only one single switch. You may be wondering where is switch number 1. Well, remember guys, we have created a standard switch for the server number 2, not to server number 1. So server number 1 definitely will consist of only a single switch, V switch 0. Now you can drop down this and you can see what is the network here, VM network. The one what we created is VM network 2, and that will be present here in esx-028.corp.local. Let me show you. See here it is changed, esx-028.corp.local. When you come to the bottom, you can see this is the way server where we have created this particular switch, switch 1. Let's get back to your switch server number 1. You can see I'm in server number 1 here. Come to the bottom, I will show you how to modify the existing switch. So just click on this. So this is available. Now just move ahead. Yeah, and here you have different options. Using this operation, I'm just going to explore them, and I'm providing you people with the different things what we can do with this. Let us suppose if you click on this edit button, so you can see if you want to change anything, MTU units, if you want to change the security information, you can change it. Traffic, if you want to, you can change it. I'm not changing anything, just I'm making you people aware of the different criteria what we have, so that you can get an idea and be aware related to this particular things. Then we have teaming and failover. So if you want, you can add, we can delete, everything is possible. So for this vSwitch 0, we have connected VM NIC2 network adapter, and using this only this particular server number 1 is communicating with other servers. Okay, simply you can click on cancel here. The other options what we have is, let us suppose I want to add another physical adapter to this particular thing. So you can see already there is one VM NIC2. I want to add another physical adapter to this particular network or this particular switch. How can we do is very simple. There are two options, guys. One is you can click on this properties. Sorry, here you can click on this particular three buttons which are present here. From here you can directly try to add. Okay, or else you people can do one thing, you can click on this add networking. You can see this option, add networking. Click on this, and there you will get the same pop-up when we created a new switch, but this time rather going to the second option, we will go with the third one, physical network adapter. Then click on next, and here you people can select from the existing. So if you want to select from the existing, here select an existing switch. You can see here it is there by default. You can click on next. So for the existing one we are adding it, right? That's the reason we did not create a new one. So here you can see assign adapter. By default VM NIC2 is available. You can add one more. How to add, I already shown you people in the previous one. So you can see you can click on this particular green button, and then finally you can see there is only one network adapter is present right now, that is VM NIC3. Just click on it and click on OK, and that will be successfully added here. Click on next, and then finally finish, and you will be able to see another NIC card added to this. So this is the another physical adapter that I have successfully connected to this VM network. So this is the way how you people can add the networks here, and you can perform the operation. Not only that, if you want to do modifications also, that is also possible. Let us suppose I want to delete this one. I had it successfully, now I don't want it, I have used it, now I want to remove this. Very simple, you can click on manage physical adapters, and here whichever the adapter you want to remove, you can select it. Let us suppose just now I have added VM NIC3, right? I have completed using it, I want to delete. Simply select it, the remaining options will be activated. Okay, when you're not selecting it, it is in deactivated state, but when you select a NIC card, it will be activated. So I am going to remove it. You can see there is a X button here with the color red. Click on that, and it will be removed successful, and it will be removed from here. So this is the way how you people can do the modifications. But when you do such a kind of modifications, what happens here is your system will not be stable. You can see there is a red color icon representing here. Do you know what is the meaning of this? It indicates that some major changes you have done with respect to your hardware, and that needs your attention. So for that, how can we remove this particular thing is very simple. You can click on the summary button here, and you can see there is a red color information, network uplink redundancy loss. So we have just removed one network adapter, so it is representing this. So it's okay, we are the one who deleted it. Simply you can click on reset to green, and automatically it will be activated. And now you can see the symbol has gone, and your server is ready to be operated. So this is the way how you people can modify it. Now let us suppose I want to remove the existing one. Simple. You can go to the second server where you have created which one. Same process. Click on configuration. Go to virtual switches here in networking and come to the bottom. So this is a switch which I wanted to remove. I want to remove that network adapter. Drop down it. So you can see there is an option here. Okay, just I have to reduce the size here. Just make it as 90%. Yeah. So you can see there are three options. You can explore this. View settings. You can see the settings here when you click on it. Whatever the properties with respect to that particular NIC card 3 is represented, you can see. But since we are not supposed to see that, okay, we are actually here to delete it. So in order to delete it, what you can do is you can use this three dots which are present to the right hand side of manage physical adapter. And in this you can select the third option, remove. So once you select that, it will ask you, are you sure you want to remove that particular switch which you have created? Yes. Click on yes and it will be successfully removed. Now you can come onto the bottom. There will be only the default switch that will be present here. You can see here. Standard switch, V switch 0. Okay. So this is the way how we can perform it. I hope you people have enjoyed this and understood the concept how to create a standard switch in your servers, the local host whatever or the host whatever were present here, and using standard switch only they can communicate. So server 1 can communicate with server 2 and server 2 can communicate with server 1 only with the help of this particular standard switch. In the next video I will discuss about something called as distributed switch. Thank you guys. If you like this video, please do share and like it. Thank you.